financial survival network, helping you survive and thrive in the new economy. Go to carrylutz.com and sign up for 30 free micro trainings on financial survival.
1490 WGCH. This is Kerry Lutz, and you're listening to the Financial Survival Network, which is brought to you by Miles Franklin. They've been in business selling gold and silver for over 20 years, and I'm a customer because when you buy, they ship. For more information, find them on the web at milesfranklin.com or give them a call at 800-822-8080 and get a free quote. Hi, this is Kerry Lutz, Financial Survival Network, and it's time for another Triple Lutz report. Zerohedge.com. Incredible website. These are financial insiders. They literally have their hand on the pulse of the global financial system. And I think lately they're having a harder and harder time figuring out if your financial system, especially your bank or brokerage house or whatever, if they have a pulse or not. So they've got something happened on May 31st, 2012. I'm talking to you on June 2nd, 2012. I wanted to get to this earlier, but I've been too busy celebrating National Donut Day, and I celebrated it by not having a donut, but by sending out my best wishes to Dunkin' Donuts and to Krispy Kreme because they're great obesity sources. We got another Triple Lutz dealing with that. The title of the article is The Endgame, 2012 and 2013 will usher in the end. And then it says, the scariest presentation ever, ? So there's a guy, Raoul Pal. He was the founder of the Global Macro Investor. He previously was a hedge fund manager, Goldman Sachs alum. He managed the hedge fund in equities and equity derivatives in Europe. So this guy is an insider. He knows what he's talking about. I guess he got fed up with life and he retired from managing client money in 2004 at the ripe old age of 36. And now he's living the life on the Valencian coast in Spain. And he writes a blog, I guess, which if you can retire at 36 and become a blogger, then life is good. Here's what he said. Consider this. And it says, we are here. And I'll put this post up in the blog. I think it's on financialsurvivalnetwork.com anyway, so go take a look at it. But there's a satellite picture of a hurricane. There's an eye of the hurricane, and it means that we're in the eye of the hurricane, but I think we're emerging from it rather rapidly. We've got a Category 10 hurricane, and we're at best equipped to deal with a Category 3 hurricane, maybe a Category 4. So what do you do with a Category 10? Geez, I think you go into your storm basement and you put your head between your legs like you do on the airplane when it's about to crash, and you kiss your butt goodbye. So here's what he says. We don't know exactly what's to come, but we can all join the very few dots from where we are now to the collapse of the first major bank. Sound familiar? It's a new theme for me because what I've come to the conclusion is it doesn't matter whether the banks are too big to fail or the government's too big to fail. There's no such thing as too big to fail. Calling something too big to fail really is giving undue power and credit to the government and to that institution. Because when it's ready to fail, atheists out there, please forgive me, not even God Almighty himself is going to be able to, or let alone want to, save this thing. And that's what you have to understand. It's not that the banks are too big to fail. It's that they've already failed. Right now, they are branch offices of the government. And I've used this analogy a number of times. If you've ever been to Disney World or to Universal Studios and you go out on the film lot and you see this metropolis, this huge city, it looks kind of like New York, but it's not really. All these buildings are really impressive. And then you look behind the facade and there's beams holding it up. There's nothing behind it. That's what the banking sector is the large banks, which hold 80% of your money, of the deposits in the country, it's just a Hollywood set. And what's behind the set is the U.S. government. They're just branch offices of the U.S. government with different artwork, different signs, different websites. But when it all gets back to it, it's U.S. government. Same with mortgages. If the U.S. government wasn't backstopping 90% of all mortgages, there would be, I wouldn't say there wouldn't be a real estate market, but it would be pretty much a cash or high down payment real estate market. It would be a high interest market where interest rates actually reflected risks taken by the lender of money. Right now, there is no risk. The only risk is governmental risk, meaning if you're paying 3% and you default, will the government actually pay off your mortgage to the lender? And the answer, of course, is yes, they will, until they don't anymore. And they've been doing this. So understand that the entire financial system, thinking of it as a free system, as free enterprise, as independent, don't. It is simply Uncle Sam in a different costume, Uncle Sam in a banker's suit. Okay? That's what the financial system is around the globe now, because it long ago failed. The only thing left holding it up is your government, your Treasury Department, and your taxes, both in the form of direct taxes that you pay on your income, etc., and in the form of debased currency, stealth inflationary tax. So look, here's what else he says, and I'm going to try to be brief on it. With limited room, very limited room for government bailouts, we can very easily join the next dots from the first bank closure to the collapse of the whole European banking system, and then to the bankruptcy of the governments themselves. There are almost no breaks in the system to stop this, and almost no one realizes the seriousness of the situation. But you realize it. I know you do, because if you didn't realize it, you would have stopped listening to me a long time ago. You would have stopped listening to David Morgan, to Chris Twain, to Ty Andros, to Jim Sinclair, to Mark Faber, to Jim Rogers, and I can go down the list of the 100+ guests that you've heard on the Financial Survival Network for the past year and a half. You would have stopped listening. So listen to this. There are almost no breaks in the system to stop this, and almost no one realizes the seriousness of the situation. Well, we said that already. Next, the problem is not government debt per se. The real problem is that the $70 trillion in G10 debt is the collateral for $700 trillion in derivatives. That equates to 1,200% of global GDP. It rests on very, very weak foundations. You know all that. From an EU crisis, we only have to join one dot for a UK crisis of equal magnitude. And then, do you think Japan and China would not be next? And then, do you think the US would survive unscathed? That is the end of the fractional reserve banking system and fiat money. It is the big reset. And he continues, and like I said, a couple other things. Bonds will be stuck at 1%, the US, Germany, blah, blah, blah. The whole bond market will be dead. It is dead. It only exists by the staged, managed purchases of government debt by major banks and the Federal Reserve and the central banks. That's what it's about. So he's saying the bond market dead, short selling on bonds banned, stock short selling banned, CDS is banned. Well, we've been telling you that for months. Short futures banned, put options banned. All that is left is the dollar and gold. It only gets better. We use that term loosely. We have around 6 months left of trading in Western markets to protect ourselves or make enough money to offset future losses. Spend your time looking at the risks of custody, safekeeping, counterparty, etc. Assume that no one and nothing is safe. And after that, we put on our tin helmets and hide until the new system emerges. And the punchline? From a timing perspective, I think 2012 and 2013 will usher in the end. Now, you have to understand this guy's perspective, because his whole life, his fortune, has been based upon a fraudulent system of fiat money. He was 36 in 2004. That makes him 42 now. He doesn't remember when things were compared sound as a dollar. He doesn't remember that. He doesn't remember when the dollar was referred to as good as gold. All right? How many of you out there do? I remember hearing it, but by the time I was hearing it, that truth, the underlying truth, was already starting to erode. Fearfulness, yeah, if you're a financial guy, if you've exploited this system to make your fortune and effectively bankrupt the world, then you have something to be worried about, perhaps. The system is going down, no question about it. And the reason the system is failing is the same reason that every monetary system in history up to this one has failed: governmental theft. Using the powers of the purse, the powers of monetary creation, the powers to set fraudulent and unfair rules in the financial system, legal tender rules, things like that. That's why every system has failed. That's why this system's failing. And yes, it is going to be one hellish time. But if the result of it is real currency, real money, and no government debt, then we all should look very much forward to it. There are other alternatives. The systems have been worked out already. They worked in the past. They will work again with the update of technology. They'll work even better than they ever did in the past. So keep this in mind when you're thinking about what's going to happen next. Like he said, the dots now, there's very few of them. That's why it's easy to figure out what's going to happen, but you don't know what's going to happen after the system collapses. I don't know. None of us know. The only thing we know is it's going to collapse. There's going to be a period of chaos, but at the end of that chaos, we are all going to be much better off, whether it's not eating junk food because there isn't going to be any around, getting back to the basics of the important things of life: family life, community, friends, relationships, the end of attempting to acquire wealth for wealth's sake. Okay? All those things are bankrupt and have made us individually and as a society and a world miserable. So rather than fear the future, prepare for it. That means stocking up on the essentials because disaster can strike at any moment, acquiring real money in the form of gold and silver, and really preparing, making those plans, your personal financial survival plan, your personal physical survival plan, and your community survival plan, because we're all in this together. That's what it comes down to. None of us is exempt. Unless you can afford a 50,000 acre ranch in Colorado with your own militia, or in Texas, very few of us can. We're all in it together. Keep that in mind. It's been another Triple Lutz Report. Kerry Lutz signing off.